think it's really important that we take ethical responsibility for our investments. Now, I know not everybody has investments, but more than half of U.S. citizens do have investments. And we really consider ourselves to be deeply ethical people. Obviously, everyone goes out of their way in lots of different ways to make choices about what products and services they support, how they show up for their families, for their community, for the world around them. In fact, according to a Google search here, do people from the U.S. consider themselves ethical? 92% of Americans are satisfied with their moral character. So it's definitely important to us as U.S. people to make ethical decisions in our day-to-day life. And yet, for some reason, when it comes to our investments, we've allowed the financial services industry to give us what I would call greenwashing, to give us options that don't really align with our true ethics. So I'm going to dive into that today and show you some examples from some of the leading financial firms where they provide their ethical portfolios, which they call ESG portfolios, and show you very definitively what kind of companies are still in there, what kind of products and services are being created, things that I think most people would generally tend to avoid if they're given two choices that are more or less good for them. It's a big deal. My name is Michael Wheelwright, by the way. I'm the managing director for a registered investment advisor. This is a finance firm called Holistic Finance. I'm one of the co-founders, along with Zach Geist. We care very deeply about helping our clients align their values with their finances. And one kind of unique story about us is we actually have started this company while off-grid, living in an intentional community in Hawaii. It's a very interesting part of our story. We're not sure of any other firms that are operating in an intentional community. So let's dive in. I know that people more or less are ethical. We are making choices. If we're given two things that are basically the same difference to us, we're going to pick the option that causes less harm to our neighbors and the world around us. This is the power of mindful investing. It's time to take the blindfold off about what companies, products, and services are actually affecting the world with our investments. Another big thing to point out here is that even if we add up all the money we spend every year as individuals for consumer products and services, that's about half of what our investment dollars are doing. We have double our yearly spend caught up in investments that are creating the world around us. If you ever look out there and wonder, why is there so much poor health, fast food, strip mines, strip malls, deforestation, indigenous rights violations, weapons being produced, you've got to take a step back and realize that it's largely due to the investment choices that we as the people are making. And for me, as an advisor, I've been able to see firsthand that the choices people are given by the financial services industry, i.e. by advisors, by YouTube gurus, all the rest, are leading people towards making investment choices that are not in alignment with most people's values. So let's go a little deeper. I use a tool that I really enjoy as a firm called Your Stake, and we're going to take a deep dive today and look at one of the leading. BlackRock is the largest investment product firm in the world, and they provide ETF portfolios. I've seen people get into these through Acorns, through Robinhood. You can set them up through Fidelity. The BlackRock portfolios are all over the place. And when people say to their advisor, or they look at their options and they say, I want the ethical choice, BlackRock provides ESG options. That stands for environmental social governance. And so you get a little pat on the head and you think, okay, I chose the ethical option. But bottom line is they are only screening out maybe a couple of the bad actors. There's a slight shift in the composition of the model, but it's very, very minimal compared to your average investment. And to me, this feels like greenwashing. It feels like people are demanding more ethical products and they're being given something that is only a tiny bit more ethical and said, okay, you did it. Good job. Now don't look any further. So I'm going to help us look a little further today because I think these topics are really important. This portfolio is still full of a lot of the companies that you might tend to try to avoid. We've got McDonald's, we've got Walmart, we've got Chevron, we've got Halliburton, Rio Tinto, all the rest of the big ones that are just riddled with controversy are in these portfolios still. You may not be aware of that. So let's look a little deeper. There's still got lots of weapons industry exposure, tons of toxic air and water, lots of fast food, which in my opinion is really awful for public health. I don't want to be investing in McDonald's or Coca-Cola. Now, obviously, what I'm looking at here is ethical metrics across the board. So it's not just my own personal opinions. It's what might people be be worried about. Maybe we're worried about toxic chemical safety or opiate pills being produced, deforestation happening on a global scale, the amount of fossil fuel extraction going on. What are things that we might wonder how are they affecting the world? Animal exploitation, anti-forced labor. We're looking at the way CEOs get paid. We're looking at air pollution in poor communities, indigenous people's rights violations. So when you get asked, to sign up for your company's 401k and they say, okay, great, here's a list of mutual funds you can choose from, they make it sound very ordinary, routine, and fine to just invest in what they give you. And yet at the end of the day, they should really be telling you, hey, you are now supporting directly with your investment dollars, becoming an equity shareholder in these types of companies that are doing this type of work in the world. Now, are you still excited about investing? Most people should take a step back and say, hold on, are there other options? Can I still be smart with my money, invest with my money in a way that aligns with my values and allows me to bypass directly supporting the things that I have the biggest problem with in the world? So I'm going to go a little deeper here. Here's an instance of indigenous people's rights violations. We have companies like Rio Tinto in there. Here is a Google search about Rio Tinto's controversies with indigenous rights violations. So here's a really prominent case. It's just endless, right? Significant controversies. Even the CEO and two other executives had to resign from what they were doing now. I've got meat production, right? Hormel Foods is deforesting in order to make room for cattle, and they create these massive factory farm operations that are going out and creating part of the world that we have. We've got fossil fuel exposure. Like, we're trying to pick the ESG thing, right? And yet who did we actually even take out here, right? We've got everybody. We've got ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, Phillips 66. I don't understand. To be handed this as the ethical choice by so many leading platforms without proper disclosure that the companies you would think you are avoiding or having screened out are still bright and center, right in the middle of your portfolio, being supported with your dollars. And again, if you have, you're getting older, maybe you've saved up over $1 million in an investment account, that $1 million in your 401k you're going to retire with is out there doing 5 to 10 times the amount of impact to the world around you than any of your own personal family decisions that are affecting the planet and the outcome and the shared environment that we all have together. Here's another example. Opiate pills getting produced. People might feel really strongly about not supporting that kind of behavior. Those companies are right in those same BlackRock ESG portfolios. Animal exploitation. This list just goes on and on and on. You might have different feelings about the way in which we interact with animals, but I think a lot of people, when they learn about the reality of factory farms especially, are really set on trying to avoid them in their decisions and choices, and they should also be able to avoid them in their investments. One more we'll look at, so deforestation. Hormel Foods is a big one. International Paper Company, linked directly to deforestation practices. Here's weapons, right? The weapons list just goes on and on and on. So you are investing in weapons of war when you're choosing these ESG models. So I don't want to leave you with a sense of despair over the choices that are given to us, but it's time to demand more and expect more from our advisors and our investment options that are out there. Now, obviously, this is important to me, and I know of a few other firms that are doing this, but very, very few of them are taking personal accountability for the portfolios they're recommending and researching the specific companies, the ethical impacts, and the financial records of the companies to be able to put together things that are set up for people's values. There's also something called direct indexing, custom values-based direct indexing. These are terms that are worth finding out about, and if you rely on an advisor or your own research and have time to do your own research, please look into these things and demand more of your investments. I think if we take ethical responsibility for our investments, it is the number one most important act that we can take right now to ensure that there is a livable future and a beautiful future for our families and our friends and the environment and everything around us that we are in service to and belong to in this beautiful world. So I hope this was interesting to you. Again, my name is Michael Wheelwright. I am the managing director and co-founder of Holistic Finance. And I wish for those that want to have custom consultations with us, of course we offer that. There's no way that we can serve as many clients as the change that needs to happen in the world. So I really want to put it on you as well to demand from your existing advisor to learn more, to get help, find out about these mutual funds and ETFs that you're in, see what's really under the hood, really advocate, because this is where we can make a big difference. I know we as conscious people living examined lives, we go through a lot of effort to try to make the world a better place. We might show up at protests or boycotts, sign things or state our opinion on social media, or avoid certain companies and purchase others, or work with our neighbors to build gardens. There's so many things we're doing and putting so much energy into to try to make the world a better place. What I want to tell you is the lowest hanging fruit, the most important shift we can make as a culture is looking hard at our investments. To me, it's the biggest skeleton in the closet of humanity right now. And if we can pull it out, shine a light on it, we could shift things really quickly, I believe, to a much brighter future for all the children yet to come into this world. I think it really, really matters. So I hope you enjoyed hearing my opinion and perspectives on this. Please pay attention to the disclaimers and all the resources I used to present this video, and I hope it was helpful for you today. Thank you.